Okay, I'm back. I'm going to try being quick about this because I have to leave, say, in about an hour and 20 minutes um, to go to campus to do administrative work. Um, I am only being semi-flippant, but it is a privilege sometimes, sometimes not, but it is a responsibility. Anyhow, this part of my responsibilities, this part of teaching, sharing my ideas with you, and you reciprocating is a privilege and something I really do love and enjoy. So that makes all the other stuff tolerable, more than tolerable. It's worth it. But this bit is excellent. All right, so I just moved like ridiculously close to the camera. Yes, so Hamlet invades his mother's space, right? Of course, he has been asked to go report to his mother, but his behavior is one of audacious comfort, right? He's very much at home in his mother's room, and of course, on the one hand, he should be, but he's been away um, for months, possibly years, and he's only just returned, and in a rather inhospitable environment to Denmark, right? So the way in which he kind of takes over his mother's space reflects both his sense of urgency about the matter and I would argue more importantly, his assumption that this space is his space, right? He doesn't feel this way about paternal spaces, right? He does not feel like he can take over the space of the ghost. He follows it around. He's very much deferential, right? So it's an interesting observation that I think we overlook if we don't pay attention closely to how he functions in the scene. So let's continue. His mother, of course, is disgusted with his bantery attitude towards her and her attempts at disciplining him. So she says, I'm going to get somebody who can talk with you. Stops her. He tells her not to budge, right? And then she says, what will that do? That will not murder me. Help ho, right? And this is where we may safely assume that Hamlet has made some sort of physical gesture toward her, which is antagonistic, which is threatening her so much so that she will jump to this conclusion, right? It's not the natural way, if you will, to assume that somebody is going to, take your life if they are simply talking with you angrily, right? So he's done something, and directors are very astute in observing that, of course, quite rightly, I would say. And Polonius is trigger happy as always, and he decides that he must call for help, right? So Gertrude is saying help. So there is some reason for us to imagine that this invasiveness has a terrifying effect on her, right? Now, this is not a woman, and nothing in the play so far has suggested, nothing since is going to suggest that she is scared, right? I mean, she is scared of confronting Ophelia, and I would say that is guilt, right? That fear is guilt. Here, there is no guilt. I mean, that's possibly the reason Hamlet is disgusted with the women in his life, that they are not guilty, right? Ophelia is not guilty. Here we don't have guilt in Gertrude. I mean, she's, in fact, just ready to school him, as opposed to willing to be schooled, right, by her son. So the fearlessness that accompanies her her desire to school him is something which I believe is important for us to note, because that is what is broken immediately when she is told that she will not budge. She is going to sit down. And with that, there is presumably some action which is dangerous enough for her to move from being confident and angry to becoming fearful, right, and afraid of her own son and his potential to kill her. This, of course, has something to do with the fact that he has been, quote, acting crazy. Again, my scare quotes are going all over the place because I don't know what to do. Again, looking at the screen light, I tell you. I shall sip tea instead of getting stressed out about the light. So Polonius, possibly sensing in Gertrude's voice the urgency, the terror that she is experiencing, decides to watch it up a little bit more, and he goes, "What, oh help!" from behind. And this, of course, is like he's ringing his death bell, because Hamlet goes, "How now, a rat? Dead for a decade? Dead!" Thrusts through the arras and kills Polonius. Of course, Polonius dies, and Gertrude, terrified, and this should give us cause. He has drawn and killed recklessly at this very moment, and without knowing exactly whom he's killed, but it's a rat, right? It's somebody who's this sort of spy snitch varietal. But this does suggest the readiness with which he's murdered somebody does suggest that Gertrude is not off by anything, right? In fearing for herself, because his rage renders him capable of extreme violence. And that is something which she is not ignorant of. So she says, "O me, what hast thou done? Nay, I know not. Is it the king?" Right, so this thing, he's like, "I don't know what I've done, but is it the king that I've killed? Do you think? Right, so he's entered a space where possibly Claudius may be in the room, right? And his desire to invade this woman's space is equivalent to his desire to invade her private marriage choices, right? And to undo these choices, correct the result, if you will, bloodily, if it must be. So his movement in this room where she has been confined by him. Now, she's pretty much the prisoner of this guy, right? This murderous guy that happens to be her son, is remarkable. And I think that is important for us to note. And I would think in performance it could be done in his ability to move around the room frantically and violently while insisting that his mother, shut up and listen and be quiet and stay still, right? So this imprisonment of a female body in her private female space, conjoined with his colonizing actions in that space, right? Violent colonizing actions of destroying her, well, I don't want to say things, because of course he's punctured this arrows, but destroying that which he perceives are hers wrongfully, right? That action is really, that conjoined action is really important for us to remember, because it seems to travel with him throughout, specifically when he's engaging with women in conversation, in physical interactions, right? So he goes on, and in response to his mom's horror, right? Oh, what a rash and bloody deed is this. A bloody deed, almost as bad, good mother, as kill a king and marry with his brother. His refusal to give up the sort of wit, right? The poisonous wit of language that he mobilizes it's very much like a schoolboy. Of course, he's not a schoolboy; he's a university student of 30 years, but his delight in punning, his delight in wounding with language is it's disturbingly youthful, right? I mean, we know that Shakespeare's language is a language in which wordplay and pun and allusion and assonance and all these things play massive roles, right? But the characters that most use these kind of devices are either fools, in that they literally are fools, like Feste, or they're foolish, right? So people who blunder into languages traps of entendre, and so on, are, we laugh because we catch the joke, and these others don't. These characters who blunder through language don't. So we've not studied much to about nothing, but someone like Dogberry comes to mind immediately as someone who is incapable of understanding the jokes he hazards or he happens to make, right? Because he's misusing language, or he falls into the trenches that language has dug up around him. So Hamlet is not one of those characters, right? Hamlet is almost enjoying the cruel laughter of language that he is producing, right? The laughter that he's producing, but also the language that he's producing. So he's like the fool, but he's not doing this to make another laugh. Very important difference. He is producing cruel language to laugh himself at the person he is confronting, right? So it's this very, and it's a very youthful way of presenting his antagonism. And we only need to look back to, say, the young women who want to marry, right? So Desdemona in Othello, Hermia in Merchant. Oh, good God, Midsummer Night's Dream. But these are well, we will see Portia in Merchant of Venice. But these are people who use language very pleasurably, right, to confront their daddies or confront their daddy-like figures, spectres of daddies, to get away from the stringent functionality of law. Hamlet is not that. He is, in fact, using language to restrain the woman who is trying to get away, right, from the stringent function of the law being the law of the father, the law of the son, the law of an absolutist patriarchy, right? Oh, I need to stop, I suppose. I'm rambling again. I think I might have one more lecture on this. I will see you in just a little bit.